Dear women in tech, do you like developing and exploring products? Do you work in environments where role models and heroes are typically male? If you answered yes to these questions, tune in for the next session. Help, I'm the only woman on my team. Please welcome our next speaker, Maja Schreiner, founder and CEO at Sharing Tribe. Hi, Maja.
Hi, hello everybody.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
We can see you. We can see your slides. I'm leaving the stage for you.
Yes, and I'm doing a screenshot. Hello, everybody. This is amazing. Thank you so much for having me here. And I'm Maja. You probably all read my abstract and the introduction about myself. And I want to first give a small disclaimer. So everything what I will be explaining and sharing with you today, please reflect about the content and also try to apply all those lessons learned and propose solutions in your working environment every day and never give up. A few words about me, you can see on the slide, but what I really want to underline is that I actually come originally and grew up in a culture where it is more common to have more women in tech and also more ladies and girls studying engineering, studying computer science as myself. So it's Eastern Europe, actually, ex-Yugoslavia. So when I finished my university studies, and when I moved to Switzerland for a first job, I was quite shocked. And I would say almost 20 years after that, I got used to it. I found a way how to deal with that, with almost always being only woman on a team. But still, I do even nowadays encounter one or the other situation that I actually try to embrace with humor. And again, as I'm now experienced with all these situations, I would like to share all of that with you. And I'm a huge advocate for women in STEM. This is how I eventually found this and heard about this conference. And again, I'm very happy to be able to share a few learnings with you. So I don't know how does your working day look like, but for me, it is full of different challenges. And it used to be full of even more challenges until I learned a few things. So when you are only woman on a team, and we did hear a bit of similar topics during this afternoon from Lina and Sana, you might need to have to prove your competence, or at least you might think that you need to prove your competence. You also can get interrupted during the meeting by people that actually basically rephrase or actually repeat the same thing what you are saying, and then getting actually congratulations for their ideas that were actually basically yours at the first place. So sometimes you might unfortunately even feel heavily scrutinized or intense pressure to perform. So I would like to also point out a few other things. So biases, confirmation or unconscious biases, not even a lot of women I know are aware of them. We are actually all biased, and that is fine. But if we allow our working environment and our attitude to not change and not to reflect about those biases or different situations, then it can be quite hard and not possible to actually grow and excel in different situations. So one of the biases I wanted to mention here is the confirmation or first conclusion bias. So when you are used to some things, when you are, for example, used to judge people on how they appear, how they are, what kind of clothes they wear. For example, if you do have people who wear business suits all the time, you might think, oh, they are very successful, or they are very smart, or they know what they're saying, or they know what they're doing. And if you feel, for example, a guy or a girl in a broken jeans or in a t-shirt and not so nice made hair, you might think, oh, this person is kind of a loser. But this is certainly not how we should judge people and how we should take them into account. So actually, there are 3 different critical mental models. Then one should always apply. And first one is really raising awareness in your company as part of a cultural DNA and organizational DNA. So every time something happens that is not quite correct, you should ask, why do you think that? Or why are we doing things like this? Or also having fun by actually giving rewards or prizes to people with the most valuable bias-busting questions. So really don't be quiet, always speak up and raise this awareness, work on that. Also, for people who know a bit about product management and product development and software development in general, we all know that we shouldn't obsess about the solutions, but we should rather genuinely obsess about the problem and reflect about the problem. And one can also apply this very well-known lean startup build, measure, learn loop. That means you could build on measuring and learning about these critical biases or situations that are actually not very good for the organization or yourself, and then apply different validation and discovery processes, and always testing and checking your assumptions on how to improve the situation. So what could be some other solutions is, as mentioned, raise your concerns directly. Explain why you, for example, for me, it happened a lot of times that I would react too emotionally or even a bit snappy. And this kind of reaction is, let's say, human and normal, but it is also not very productive. So you should always try to keep your composure, but then, so not overreact, but really make aware and self-reliable, self-aware appearance when you explain why something is not good. And then you can also use a snappy comeback to say, for example, to use humor, or to say, why do you think I'm only a project assistant here? I'm actually a technical project lead, leading this huge team. Then, as written, ask follow-up questions. And also important thing is to learn how to calm yourself, to relieve the stress. There are different ways, certainly. I don't have time now to explain. One thing that really helped me is to find allies. And that means find allies not only between or with your women or female colleagues at work, but actually engage a lot with other male colleagues, because we can't really say everybody is biased or everybody is making some mistakes or not understanding you. On the contrary, start with those who like you, who understand you, and then slowly but steadily build up on this network, because that will help you in every next situation. If things are not getting better, then you could definitely escalate the situation with your boss or even with the HR. Then another thing that is also super interesting and super valuable is to seek a mentor, coach, and a sponsor. Here should be actually an ad, because sponsor is a bit different than mentor or coach. With them, you learn and advance in your career, but the sponsor is the person who will help you really get this next job, get the next promotion, really cover your back, and really speak about you all the time in his or her network, so that when there is even a position, they don't even know that there should be a position, they can think about you and call you back. As mentioned, connect with other women, as in this awesome conference or any other meetings or any other networks and communities. So a few more things, what companies can actually do. Companies, unfortunately, they can't have and attract so many women in, I don't know, 10, 20% percentages more in one day. I mean, we wish they would, but what they can do is a step-by-step approach, definitely. So they should actually they should actually attract and recruit few women in a cohort together, because the research showed that when you have, for example, when you recruit one woman in one team and the other woman in another team, that doesn't make a lot of awareness, a lot of change. But if you have two of them in one team working together, then this team will be really more diverse and more innovative, and then you can pass. Then maybe later you can split them in two teams, or of course have more women. So again, research showed that that is much more easier and much better to proceed with that on that way. And I could say also from my experience, I also thrived much more in the teams where I would be with one or the other women than always being another only woman in a team. So again, bringing women together, that means really encouraging internal and external communities and encouraging your employees and female employees to take part in some other activities besides work. And even if they can't do that beside work, that should actually be part actually of the work time, maybe some brown bag lunch, etc. What I would also like to point out are some other biases. I can imagine some of us have been victims of performance biases, where most of the time a lady would get less of a promotion, less of a salary, would need to do actually more. Then what is also interesting is something else, is a mentorship and sponsorship bias. That kind of happened to me as well, I have to admit. At one point, I had to mentor a junior member of my team, and he didn't really appear as a person that I could get along with good. So I was a bit afraid of that relationship. But then I remembered about this bias and went through this different text from, this is, by the way, also from the Lean-In organization. So that helped me really open my mind and open my willingness to work with this person. And it actually turned out to be one of the best relationships at work ever. And we were even sharing our roles at some point by ourselves. So we were really so good organized. Then a few more advantages that women should actually take from their male colleagues is, as we all know, men like and tend to communicate very direct and very open. And I have to underline, there is no harm in doing that. For me, it wasn't a big deal to do that because I come from a culture where people are open and direct. So for me, it was more or less not a real change, but it came across sometimes that I am like too direct, because people wouldn't expect a lady to be a bit direct, but then I would somehow back it up with humor, with authenticity, and etc. And when people get to know you, they at the end understand who you are and like you as you are. And this is this type of self-confidence everybody needs to bring with him or her. So the men also have a lot of connections. As you know, mostly they go to army, they do sports, much more sports than a let's say, average woman, and they go out much more than women. So this is where we should really back up and do much more in communities like this, online or also offline. So don't be afraid of making a lot of connections. Don't be afraid of contacting people you don't know, sending them LinkedIn requests. And by the way, when you send a LinkedIn request, don't just send a request without a note, but make this small effort, extra effort, and tell in a note, why would you like to be connected with this person? What do you like about this person? Why do you think a connection would be valuable for both of you? Then a confidence boost comes from, this easygoing. I mean, at least for me, it happens all the time when I work with software engineers. They actually don't want to admit that they don't know something. So it's always like, oh, it's easy. We can implement this like in the full sprint, or in one day or in 1 hour. And even if you know that it's not always true, that it will be challenging to finish that in that proposed and estimated time, you can still, this kind of repeatedness of, that is easy, we can do this, no problem. This type of attitude really comes in your skin, in your blood, so you really do like that. You are very courageous and you can do it. And then the negotiation skills, I would say, men don't really negotiate. They just say how it is, what they want, and they get it. So this is where women or females should also have this confidence to just say it and don't need to explain, don't need to apologize for asking more money or a promotion. Just say, I can do that. So few more things. Some successes is definitely what I raised is that when I was leading and initiating different women communities, I actually helped also in another company. I was working for 5.5 years. I helped tremendously, and I'm very proud of that, on raising awareness in inclusion and diversity. Even if we did have internal department for diversity and inclusion, it was very nice to know that internal initiative of me and my female colleagues mostly helped raise more awareness about not only gender issues, but really diverse issues. Like most of us actually come from different countries, from different backgrounds, not necessarily all studied technical or engineering studies, etc. And one of the nice things I got is also when one of my colleagues, whom I actually connected to somebody who might be advantage for her next job, she sent me this message that also made my day as well. So I would say it actually needs at least 3 things to succeed. It needs you to be able and to be willing to change things. It takes your whole network that you have to start building up. And it also takes a lot of mentors, bosses, coaches that also want to. So here on the slide, it's a bit small, but it should be quite larger, this intersection of these 3 things. And if we are talking about the process, this is my personal process. So it takes a lot of honesty towards yourself to say, okay, I know what I need to improve. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I want. And to be very honest on that and to track these changes and this whole process in the form of a diary, and to really transmit this type of self-awareness. It takes a lot of courage. You won't achieve much with being like, oh, can I do it? What if, etc. This is not the correct attitude. And it takes a huge amount of grit and perseverance, staying on a ball and really being in the moment and really not going backwards, but always going forwards. So this is also a bit of links that really inspired me, books, different role models, different resources I also used for this presentation. And last but not least, I would like to thank you, everybody. Sorry for this small technical glitch at the beginning and not seeing me properly, but thank you so much. For any questions regarding women empowerment communities or also part-time and job sharing models, I didn't have time to mention, but this is my current and my future business that I'm working together with my awesome team. And we will be connecting, and we are connecting awesome and talented women in tech, at the moment focusing on data science and software engineering positions in the DACH region. Please check out our website, and here again you have my main contacts. This is my Twitter and this is my email. And I will now stop sharing.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Maya. It was super interesting. I love what you said, that diversity goes far beyond the gender, and it incorporates nationalities, age, and different other factors. And I
Yes.
really loved the way you shared about the personal process, honesty, courage, perseverance. That was really awesome. Thank you
Thank you.
very much. Thanks for joining us for this great presentation. I'm wishing you a great day. Stay
Thank
with
you.
us and enjoy.
Stay tuned. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Bye.